Hello, this is Sina. I am going to be doing a tag today. It is the bookshelf book tag, which was originally created by a wandering mind. I'm going to try and remember to leave a link to the channel. And I have seen the tag recently on Jest's channel, Drawn to Stories, and also on Kelly's channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I'm not actually sure if that was a recent video or not, but I've recently watched it. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And I thought this would be a good tag to, well, to do so you guys maybe get to know me a bit better. Yeah, so let's get into it. Number one, how many bookshelves do you have? One. Okay, that's not true. This is the one that has most of my books. I do have a very small one in the hallway, which holds mainly magazines and sort of cooking related stuff. And then obviously I have books strewn around all over in boxes in the loft underneath the bed and so on. But due to space constraints, this is the only major bookshelf in this house. Obviously I'd like more, but it is what it is. Number two, how many books do you have? That was a difficult question to answer. So I've tried to count sort of one representative row on there, and then times it by however many shelves there are, and then also there are some that are double stacked and others that are horizontally stacked. So I just sort of did a very rough estimate, and that rough estimate comes to 350 or so on this shelf, which obviously discounts anything that is in any boxes here or at my parents' house, and also it discounts any of the ebooks I own, which I have no clue about how many there are on there. Yeah, so probably if you really think about all of those other ones, it's probably twice that or maybe more. I'm not sure what's in those boxes. It's too many. Okay, number three, how do you organize your books? It's sort of an organized chaos. Since I only have the one shelf, I can't quite have this sort of organization system that I would prefer, but I do try to keep them slightly separate. So there's, I tend to keep my German language books in one place, and then there are English language books in a lot more places because I read a lot more English. And of the English ones, they are sort of roughly divided. Some of them are university related or adjacent, and they're sort of in one bit. And then other random, all sorts of other books are sort of just jammed together. And those I've roughly separated by non-fiction, fiction, and I try to keep unread ones to the front so they're easier to access. But it's all quite haphazardly organized. And then on top of all of that, other problems with the space constraints, this bookcase also houses some of my husband's books, which are a lot fewer than mine, but they also do take up considerable real estate on there. But yeah, it is what it is. We live in a very small flat. Yeah, so that's the organization. What's the oldest book on your shelves? So I wasn't sure whether that meant oldest book as in when it was printed, or the one that I have owned for the longest that I have here. So I just got two out. One of which is, I think, the oldest one as in having been printed at a rather early time, which is this. It is a children's book by Johanna Spyri. She's famous for Heidi. That's, I think, the most well-known, or the only one really, because it was made into a, what's it called? Into an animation series and so on and so forth. And hang on, this is the second print of this book, and I seem to have misplaced when it was actually from, but it looks, I think I had read somewhere that it was something like very late 19th century. But I might be mistaken, but it's rather old, as you can maybe tell. It's not worth anything. I bought it very cheaply on eBay. It's got a personal connection, that's why I bought it. I haven't actually read this. So the book is called Sina, which is my name, and the story why the personal connection is that basically when my parents were having me thinking about names, they wanted to give me a different name than the one I have, and my grandmother was a big fan of Johanna Spyri's books. They were a childhood favorite of hers, and she told my dad that there was this book that she'd read and there was a character named Sina, and she thought that name was lovely, and apparently my dad agreed, and then I got that name. But she never had this book herself, so I never actually got to see it, and I always thought that it was a random book with this character named Sina in it, not that the book was actually called after that character. So I randomly came across this when I was looking for a different book by her to buy, and you know, I had to have it because it was like, I don't know, €4 or something like that, and so I had to have it. So that's the one. And then the other one, and I haven't had this for a long time, I bought it 2019. And then the other one that has probably been in my possession the longest, or certainly in the possession of my family the longest, is another one by the same author, which is called Schloss Wildenstein. So Castle Wildenstein, I guess. Another children's book, obviously well loved and well used. And this one has an inscription here in the front, which is basically to my grandmother. She got it given when she was a little girl. Actually, let's see. Oh no, it doesn't say her age. Yeah, she got it for Christmas. And so she read this. She read it to her children, and then she read it to me. Or we read it together, really. And it is still printed in this old German Fraktur. I don't know if this is possible to see. Yeah, so this sort of oldie-worldy print, which I learned to read because several of her children's books were still in this type of print. Yeah, and I took it after she passed away. I took it home with me, and it's been with me ever since, everywhere that I've moved. Yeah, so I think that's probably the oldest one I have here. Any of sort of older children's books are at my parents' house, I presume. Yeah, so then what's the newest book? The newest book is in this parcel. I just received that parcel today, and I thought I'm going to do an unboxing because why not? Because it's just arrived. So, and I don't know quite what it is because I ordered a few things from different places. It's going to be a slight surprise for me. So let's see. Ooh, it's 3 books. One is already falling down on the ground. Okay, there we go. So the one that I just picked off the ground, so these are also secondhand, is B.S. Johnson's Albert Angelo, a postmodernist, is it postmodern? I think postmodern British writer whose The Unfortunates and Christie Malry's own double entry I have already read and enjoyed, and so I had to go ahead and buy this because I couldn't find it in new edition anymore, and I thought, ooh, this print run seems to be running out. Therefore, I should probably get my hands on one before they disappear. So that's one. Then there is Beginning Theory. I don't know why there's a cat in here. Maybe I'll learn about it. An Introduction to Literary and Cultural Theory. So basically, I study English literature and linguistics, and whilst I did have an introductory course to literary studies, I felt like there was not enough stuff about theory. I didn't feel like I had a very good overview, so I thought, why not buy this and have something that I can look into to have a small introduction into different things that I can use as a basis. And the last one is completely different. It's The Binding by Bridget Collins. Yeah, I think this made the rounds a while ago on BookTube. I'm not sure. I did see it mentioned elsewhere, and I was interested in it but wasn't quite sure. And then recently I saw someone else endorse it quite strongly, and I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was Books and Bow who endorsed it on their Twitter account, I think. And then I thought, I'll take the plunge and I'll buy a second-hand copy. That's the 3 ones. Sorry, this is going on too long. So these are the newest ones on my shelves. Or I guess, well, they have to still be put on the shelves. But anyway, then what is the longest one? So for the longest, I don't know if this is a cheat, but I think this is definitely the longest I have. It's the Norton Anthology of American Literature. This is the second part, volume 2, because that's from 1865 to the present. This is not focusing. Hello. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. And it has like 1,600 something pages, I think. Or yeah, something like that. Obviously this is a collection, it's an anthology, so maybe that doesn't count. And so for the other one, I would say it's probably Infinite Jest or The Crimson Petal and the White. I had looked it up and then I forgot again and I didn't take notes. These are the longest novels, I guess, that I have. And then we have the shortest book. I think that one was relatively easy. I presumed it would probably be one of my poetry books. And this is this tiny little yellow Reklamheft, which all the German students will know, because they're very cheap prints of classics in all sorts of different categories. Also get Latin texts in it, and they have a different color and stuff. And this one is by Erich Fried, and it just says poems, Gedichte. So it's just a selection of his his most famous poems, I guess. I have some other ones of his, but this one is the shortest. It's got 70 something pages, but that includes some commentary. Yeah, that's it. Right, what is the predominant genre? I don't know. It might be probably something like general fiction, contemporary and classic. At one point it was probably fantasy, but that's not the case anymore. I don't have that many fantasy books on these shelves. So I think, yeah, just contemporary fiction. If we're going to keep contemporary in a relatively large definition. Then have you done a bookshelf tour? No, because I'm ridiculously new and I wouldn't know where to start with that. Number 10, go to a random number generator and talk about the book that corresponds with the number. I did that, and I wasn't sure how to do it because of all the double stacking in there, so I decided to just count the front ones because I didn't want to go through the motions trying to get everything off. And I got this. So this is Hermann Hesse, Tessin. Hermann Hesse, obviously a German classic, but this is non-fiction by him, and it is about the Tessin, which is, you know, his sort of chosen home. He lived there for 40 years or so, and he loved the landscape, and he wrote a lot of observations, satirical takes about the tourism industry at the time, and also poems about this, you know, his chosen home, I guess. And he also painted watercolors, and this is sort of a selection of that. I bought it in some charity sale, which was donation based, so I think I only paid like €2 or something. And I thought I'd just show you one of the watercolor paintings. So this is one. Yeah, and so it's strewn around with these kinds of paintings and yeah, random little observations, poems, etc. about this place and this landscape that he loved so much. I haven't read it, I've sort of dipped in and out of it, but not cover to cover, but maybe I should do that soon. Yeah, cool. What is the next one? Do you have fun merch or any other decorations on your bookshelves? I do and I don't. I don't have lots of fun merch. I think I have one Kafka Metamorphosis related bookmark, and I don't know where it is, in a book I presume. What I do have is lots of decorative knickknacks that are mainly from my husband. The main reason being that we have two very rambunctious and very nosy cats. You wouldn't know from looking at them right now, but yeah. So this is also why we have doors on our shelves, because yeah, they were getting better and better and better at jumping up on the high shelves where we had previously kept things that should be kept out of reach. So now they have doors, and this is where we therefore keep a few of the breakable things that he likes to have on display. I don't personally like it that much because it always needs shuffling around when you try to get to something, but again, this is what we do with the space constraints we have. Lastly, show us your bookshelf. I don't think I have battery for that, so I'm gonna stop here. So my camera just rudely interrupted the filming process, just as I was going to say. I think there's no space, so I'm just gonna tag on a short clip of showing the bookshelves now. Okay, so I've opened the doors of the shelves so it doesn't have any reflection. So as we can see up top here, there's mainly my husband's books, apart from the ones that are facing the front. These are library books that I need for certain papers or theses. So they're just up there because that's where they're safe and I have no other space. Then lots of English, mainly hardcover, but not only, some read, some unread, with some random knickknacks, more knickknacks, and this is mainly non-fiction, apart from the very left, Franz Kafka, The Castle, which is a massive, what's it called? Special edition, and has lots of illustrations and stuff, which is my last Christmas present by my husband, which is very lovely. Yeah, so this has mainly unread non-fiction here, and it's missing a few books from my grandmother, which I pulled out to show you. And then one further down we have more fiction. This is very random. Mostly stuff in the front has not been read, and the stuff in the back is usually read, although there's also some unread stuff there. And then here we go into the German fiction, this on this shelf. So we have some German classics. This is more Hermann Hesse, more Franz Kafka, Stefan Zweig, Erich Kästner, Stanisic, the relatively recent German Book Prize winner, this book. I really want them to translate this to English. I think this would be interesting for other readers of other languages. And then here, these ones are some books that I bought specifically on BookTube recommendations. So this one definitely was a recommendation, I think, by Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures. And then this one is Das kunstseidene Mädchen, which is the artificial silk girl, which was, I think, Sean the Book Maniac's pick for the Read More German Books readathon, which was hosted by Britta Böhler from the Second Shelf and Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures. And I'm pretty sure this one was also somewhere. It was mentioned somewhere in that realm, but I can't remember, unfortunately, who it was. And then over here, there's some more Erich Fried, some more poetry by him. Underneath here, it's just random teaching-related stuff. Over here, we have more of my husband's books. Some of them are mine, actually, but yeah, whatever. Let's not go over that. Here it's some of my husband's notebooks and other random travel-related stuff, and behind there it's got university-related novels. Yeah, like Borges, who wasn't assigned, but I read like 1 or 2 of his short stories in a class and then thought I need to buy more. The same with this guy here, B.S. Johnson, who I talked about before. This is that book in a box with the loose chapters. This is the Christie Murray's own double entry. And then, yeah, basically this has... Oh, look, there's sweets here that I'm also keeping away from the cats. Yeah, so this has more of these reclam, these thin little cheap prints. I think this is like Gatsby and Streetcar Named Desire or something. So yeah, university stuff, syntax, random novels I had to read. A rather large Paul Auster selection, being guarded by 2 little bunnies that are breakable. I had a big phase of reading Paul Auster. This is the lamp my husband made. Sorry. And this one is a rather special one. It's I was given this by my husband in the very first birthday that we were celebrating as a couple, I guess. And he's not a big fiction reader at all, but he had looked at my shelves and seen that I have a lot of his books. So he went out and found a first edition signed copy of a book that he hadn't seen on my bookshelves, which I thought was rather lovely. And funnily enough, I have read that book before. I have no clue where the copy went, though. So, I mean, I think it was a very good effort on his part. And now I have a signed edition. And then down here, it's Terry Pratchett. Lots of him. More in the back behind him. And more behind this House of Leaves thing. House of Leaves, full of tabs, because I wrote a paper on it. Hated and loved it at the same time. And it fits perfectly here. And down here, there's some sheet music and some Alan Moore comics. Not comics, graphic novels.